Good day, my plant foldies. This is Richie at Grow Folds, and today we'll be local nursery plant shopping at Green Acres Nursery and Supply in Irving, Texas. As always, please make sure you're hitting the like button for this video, as well as following me on Instagram at Grow Folds for daily 1-hour plant shopping videos. Subscribe to this YouTube channel with the notification bell on. It is a beautiful morning, and I decided to go to Irving, Texas, just to see this beautiful nursery that I haven't been to in a while. I typically go to the Green Acres Nursery and Supply out in Melissa, Texas, since I am based out in North Dallas. And to my plant foldies, for those that are new to the channel, I call my viewers and subscribers plant foldies. I hope you enjoy this morning installation of all of the gorgeous plants we will be seeing at this nursery. So this is actually the primary nursery out in North Dallas as far as Green Acres is concerned. You can see that fall is in full force. We've seen a lot of chrysanthemums or mums and a ton of crotons, and you can see that they have some beautiful pumpkin planters, and you can see that they have a couple of mums already, actually a lot of mums that are not quite in bloom yet. You actually want to buy your mums when they haven't fully bloomed, so you can actually have a longer lasting plant with blooms. As you can see right here, plant foldies, we're gonna walk in, and I remember going to this plant nursery for the first time before the Green Acres, Melissa, Texas location was created, and I was just blown away because they have so many different plants. And then as far as the organization and just the amount of plant supplies they have for landscaping, irrigation, indoor and outdoor plants, they just have aisles and aisles of different types of plant supplies, from fertilizers to soil to irrigation to hoses to planters to pest control to seeds. Everywhere you turn around, you can see that they've got so many different plant supplies. It's almost like a big box store just for plants, though. So when you talk about a big box store plant shopping alternative, this is truly one place that I would recommend going to, and that would be Green Acres. Both locations, but I did want to highlight the Irving, Texas one. This is the OG one out in the North Dallas area. You can see here they've got so many beautiful plants. This aisle right here, all of the planters on this aisle would be up my alley in terms of just what planters I would put in my my home, as well as these right here. So they've got some concrete planters. They've got some gray planters right here. This would be perfect for, say, a philodendron gloriosum, since that philodendron tends to want to crawl across the soil substrate versus climbing up a pole. And you can see they've got a bunch of indoor plant pottery and planters for your plant needs. I love this, and there's just a huge selection. I would say that this one is a little bit more established than the Melissa one, but the Melissa one is steadily getting restocked with even more items. Irving isn't that far of a drive for me. Honestly, both the Melissa and Irving ones are around the same, I guess, range of travel time, depending on traffic. But you can see they have a full-blown planting bar right here. Green Acres Nursery and Supply also has a lot of classes. They recently had, I think, a terrarium building class and kokedama class. And you can see over here that they already have this planter all potted up with all of these plants ready to go. I remember buying for $9.75 several plant cuttings in a 4-inch planter. So I thought that was a really good deal. And I do see that they've got tons of uncommon and rare syngoniums right here. I do believe these ones were actually sourced out from Pearl of Toltec plants. So if you love rare and uncommon plants imported from Thailand, check out Toltec plants. I love Pearl and her husband, and just that whole family is amazing. But going back to all of these syngoniums, you already know, plant foldies, I love syngoniums. I may end up getting the pink salmon, which would be on the very left corner with the speckling right over here today. We'll see what that looks like, because I have spent quite a bit of money buying plants since PlantCon 2024 in Dallas. And plant foldies, if you haven't seen that video, I have about 6 videos plus 2 compilations of PlantCon, so definitely check that out. But what a start for this exciting plant shopping video out in Green Acres Nursery and Supply. So we're going to go check out the indoor tropical plants today. I'm not going to spend time in the outdoor section. So we are about to be entering paradise. And I just remember being blown away when I first visited this nursery a little while back. And you can see that they have it fully stocked. It's super full. It is another urban jungle right here. And that's the thing about going to local plant nurseries, is you actually see a wider range of different types of uncommon plants and just plants in general. Big box store plant shopping, I love that a lot. And you already know, as far as big box store plant shopping, I would still recommend going to Walmart, Home Depot, or Lowe's. And the fact of the matter is those types of big box stores are a little bit more accessible to the general public. And I say this in every single video, but I do believe that plants in general need to be accessible to everybody. I don't think that everybody should be denied plants, whether it's uncommon or rare, and whether it's a price point that we can all afford. And big box stores tend to do that, but let's just say that a local plant nursery like Green Acres Nursery and Supply has some really cost-effective plants. As you can see here, I've just panned around just to show you a general view of all of the beautiful plants they have available. They come in many different varieties, shapes, and sizes. The first one we're going to take a look at is a philodendron fuzzy petiole, beautiful plant, and this is only for $50. So you can already see that if you want an instant gratification plant, a plant that you don't have to wait to grow, you can get the large plants. And then over here is a ficus umbellata, and I do have a ficus umbellata in my plant collection. This one is a little bit more of a finicky plant, at least in my growing conditions for my home. I just have a little bit of a struggle with it just because it is a little bit more spider mite prone. It does require quite a bit of light. So there's just two factors that make it a little bit more challenging as far as a plant. And, you know, for those that go to my channel to learn a little bit about plant care, I would say plants that are easy care would be plants that are low light tolerant, keyword low light tolerant, drought tolerant, and fast growing. Those are actually three of the characteristics I look for in my plants. You know, there have been a lot of YouTubers that have really talked about downsizing their plant collection, and I started to downsize my plant collection, and then I was inspired to purchase more plants. But to go back to that, sometimes inundating yourself with a lot of plants, and you know, my plant shopping videos don't necessarily help me, for instance, because I'm always exposed to all of these plants, can be a little bit overwhelming. So I always encourage anybody that are growing plants to have grace for yourself. Make sure that you know, you give yourself a little bit of grace. If all of your plants are not necessarily doing well, sometimes just being inundated with a lot of plants can be a little bit overwhelming. That's why it's always good to check out easy to care for plants. But to go back to all of the plants I'm talking about in Green Acres, as you can see right here, this is an Epipremnum pinnatum. This one is the mature form, and if you notice, the mature form actually has larger leaves and it's fenestrating. Typically you will see this sold as like a hanging basket, a trailing plant, but in the actual native environment such as the Philippines, which is where my family is originally from, Epipremnum pinnatum are endemic, and they grow up coconut trees in general, and they start to fenestrate. Most of these aroids, or what you call philodendron or tropical plants, are what you call epiphytes. So for instance, this Monstera dubia, it actually needs to be on some type of support for it to actually grow larger leaves and for it to really feel comfortable growing in its natural environment. So that is another advice that I would give for plant lovers. If you're collecting plants, know its natural growth habit. Meaning, yes, we do want to grow some plants in hanging baskets, and that's possible. But for the majority of plants that we actually grow in our collections, the majority of these philodendrons, these syngoniums, Pothos plants in general, they want to crawl up a totem pole, a moss pole, or a legitimate tree like they do in the wild. So I just want you to be a little bit more aware of that. But as you can see with Green Acres Nursery and Supply, they have a bunch of beautiful piper plants. I've heard that piper plants actually don't travel well via mail. So it's always nice to see these types of plants available at a local nursery, because then you don't have to worry about it traveling in a mail, you know, in a box in the mail, being delayed. So that's the reason why I also recommend going to local plant nurseries. I am fortunate though that I live in the North Dallas area. The Dallas-Fort Worth area has a huge plant community, and I did want to take the time to thank all of the plant foldies, my community, for continuing to tune into my plant shopping videos on a nightly basis. I have tried my very best to provide daily content. Sometimes it's not always possible, and that's the reason why I will default and do maybe a compilation video of some of my previous work. Recently I ended up doing some PlantCon 2024 Dallas videos, and those compilations are super long playing, so they're about 3 hours long, but they're bingeable content. So I tend to do that when I'm not able to produce a brand new plant shopping video. But today, super excited that I was able to provide a detailed look at some of the plants that they have available at Green Acres Nursery and Supply. You can see right here, they've actually sourced out some Costa Farms plants, which to me is a little bit surprising because Costa Farms plants typically are seen at big box stores, but it is nice to see that they do have them at local plant nurseries. You know, some people have some mixed opinions about big box store plants. For me, big box store plants, again, make it a little bit more accessible for some people that may not have a wonderful local plant nursery like Green Acres available in their area. I always say, find the plant that brings you joy. Source the plant where you find the plant that brings you joy. Just remember that if you are gonna buy plants, the only thing I would also say as far as the source, make sure you find it from a seller that has good practices. We don't want to buy plants that somebody has poached or has sold or found illegally. That's just not sustainable to the environment, and it's just not best practice. But as you can see here, plant foldies, we do have some African violets, and I am actually impressed that all three of my variegated African violets have done very well. Some people will say that African violets are a little bit finicky of a plant. Here is my tips for African violets. Definitely bright indirect light. You want to make sure that you are bottom watering them. So you never want to get the leaves of the African violet wet, and that is basically it. I have been able to get away with not watering my African violets as often, but they did say to keep their soil moist. Now over here is a Ficus triangularis, and that is another example of a plant that is large size already that you can purchase at Green Acres Nursery and Supply. Sometimes I don't want to wait for a plant to grow that large. Sometimes I already want a statement piece, and I don't have a problem buying already a large plant. Although most people will say that buying a plant when it is actually small and watching it grow is a lot more satisfying. I could agree to a certain extent because then you can see the journey of the plant. But as you can see here, plant foldies, look at all of the plants at Green Acres Plant Nursery and Supplies. I'm always impressed. And what I'm also impressed about is I was able to meet up with my friend Tanya, who actually takes care of the plants here. I believe she is one of the buyers, and I want to say thank you, Tanya, for always taking the time to talk to me, to talk about your passion about plants, to entertain. So plant foldies, if you want to know some of the processes of me filming these plant videos, you have to think I am literally in a nursery for a minimum of 1 hour, sometimes more. I do take the audio out whenever I film and just do a voiceover, but it's always easy to talk to somebody while I'm filming versus just walking around in silence. That's also the biggest joys of why I like to do plant shopping videos, because I do meet a lot of kind people. The plant community is awesome. And you know, with Tanya, she has actually been the one person that has really elevated a lot of the plants, at least from what her passion is. Like, she's really tried to push for more of the rare and uncommon plants. She does the buying. And as far as the plant pricing, Green Acres Nursery and Supply definitely has some very cost-effective pricing, because when you think about it, local nurseries may not always have the premium pricing as far as like a big box store like Walmart, Lowe's, or Home Depot. But as you can see right over here, they have plant pricing that is going to be cost effective, and we're going to delve into that a little bit more so. But I did want to just keep panning over here and showing you the plants. Now this one right here is an Epipremnum pinnatum albo. This one is for $20, and I actually don't have any more Epipremnum pinnatum albo. I am a little disappointed that my mature version of an Epipremnum pinnatum albo ended up, number one, I'm gonna tell you this straight up, I ended up neglecting it in my garage under a grow light, and it just ended up dying. I am a little disappointed because it was already fenestrating, it was already large, and that's the reason why I need to try to find an Epipremnum pinnatum albo. I may end up getting it here for $20, or I may end up finding it at a big box store. I know that Costa Farms has already released the Epipremnum pinnatum as a trending tropicals plant, so we'll see what that looks like. But beautiful variegation. This used to be a very uncommon plant, but like all plants, if you wait long enough, they will end up becoming a little bit more readily accessible, which is super exciting because plants, again, you know, it's one of those things, it's literally plant trends. Sometimes you want to buy that variegated philodendron or that super new release syngonium for over $200. But if you wait about a year, maybe even 6 months, you may be able to find a plant for a little bit more cost effective. And here's why I say that. Every single plant trend that you see, once that plant has either made it to a big box store or even a local plant nursery like Green Acres, you will see that those prices plummet down. It's all about the right plant at the right price for me, and that's the reason why I really try to vet out certain plant nurseries, certain plant shops, even big box stores. That way you get the best cost-effective pricing. But as you can see here, for instance, we have a Monstera Thai constellation, and we already know 4 years ago, and I was in that situation too, plant foldies, where I bought a 2-leaf 1-node cutting, I believe, for $300. That wasn't even fully rooted. Luckily, I do have that plant, that Monstera plant, and I was able to grow it into a really large size. It is about 4.5 to 5 feet tall, and we already talked about me doing a house plant tour. It is coming, plant foldies. I have been working very hard to, number one, clean my my house. Number two, plant style my plants to where I can do a very detailed plant nursery house plant tour at my home. You can see right over here, plant foldies. Green Acres Nursery and Supply has a rare plant greenhouse section. So this one is actually locked off. So thank you to Tanya for opening this up and giving me some access to film some of the plants. Here is an Epipremnum pinnatum marble for $200, but you can see that it is already fenestrated. It is already on a moss pole, and that's actually a plant I've debated on purchasing. You know, for $200, it's already growing up a pole. It's already fenestrated. It's got some beautiful leaves, and it is a pretty good sized plant. Some people will even sell, you know, the Epipremnum pinnatum marble in like a 3 or 4 inch container for like $40. So I really feel like a full mature plant like this already is a really good deal. I have a lot of plants that are growing on totem poles and moss poles, and that's because I'm really pushing the limits in terms of getting the plants to mature and really get those large leaves. You can see right here, this is a philodendron pink princess. And as far as a philodendron pink princess, we've seen a lot of different varieties of philodendron pink princess. That one's not as variegated, but it just really depends. You want to make sure you are finding a philodendron pink princess with higher pink variegation if that's what you're looking for. But on the flip side, if you want a philodendron pink princess that has a little bit of pink and some beautiful dark foliage, go for it. It doesn't make the plant any less valuable, at least in my opinion, if it doesn't have that big of a variegation. Sometimes that dark foliage is gorgeous. Now over here is a philodendron strawberry shake that they also have on sale. I don't know if that is actually the tissue cultured form. I ended up buying one actually from Art Flower Garden. It's another Indonesian importer out in, when I went to PlantCon 2024, and it's still acclimating in water. I just want to push out a little bit more roots before I put it in a substrate. I may actually end up growing a lot of my plants that I bought from Indonesia in leca or pond. I feel like semi-hydroponics is the way to go. I have converted a lot of my alocasia into semi-hydroponics. Some syngoniums have gone into pond, so we'll check what that looks like when I do my plant houseplant tour. Now this one over here is a philodendron Florida Ghost. I really like the philodendron Florida Ghost. It comes out with like a minty white leaf, and it darkens over time as it matures. I just love all of the philodendron Florida Floridas in general. The Philodendron Florida Beauty obviously is a variegated form. I am looking for a Philodendron Florida Bronze. And check this out. This is a Philodendron Red Moon. And you already, actually that's a red moon. This is a Philodendron Variegated Moonlight. And you can see that it is variegated. Super exciting to see that. And again, plant foldies, when it comes to variegation, it really depends on how much variegation a plant has and how much you're willing to pay for that variegation. That's really the plant pricing when it comes down to it. But as you can see right here, this is a Philodendron Red Moon. And what makes the Philodendron Red Moon interesting is not necessarily the variegation. It is actually the petioles and the stems, how it has like a half moon, like it has like white and then red stem on it. I do think that it is an overpriced Philodendron in my personal opinion, but you know, some people go for that. Now, this is an example of a Philodendron Florida Beauty that doesn't have high variegation. The good thing about a plant that doesn't have high variegation is if it has a little bit more green, that means that that green is actually going to make that plant a little bit more how do I say, more vigorous in its growth habit, just because there's more chlorophyll, so it's able to photosynthesize. You can see here, this is a Monstera albo. Monstera albos, I am super surprised that it's actually been able to hold on to its actual price. They are still quite pricey. Like this one is for $275, but look at how white and juicy those roots are. You can see that that is very much a healthy Monstera albo. Would you say that it's a high variegated one? I would say it's okay. I wouldn't say it's some of the highest ones. I am super proud and biased because I have a super high variegated Monstera albo that I got from Fitzgerald's Tropicals, which is another local plant grower out in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. They propagate all of their plants in-house, and it's super exciting to, you know, support those local businesses, those that actually propagate, chop and prop is what I say, businesses. I'm actually entertaining potentially growing my own plants, propping them, and possibly selling them down the line under Grow Folds plants. So we'll see what that looks like. The YouTube channel has done very well, and it's because you plant foldies have given me so much viewership, have given me a lot of engagements via hitting the like button. And if you haven't made it to that button yet, please do, because it does help me out. And then also just leaving comments, sharing my videos on your social medias really has grown the community. We're already approaching 11,000 subscribers, and I am just shocked because I really have only been doing plant YouTube videos for a good 10 months, close to a year now. And that's the fun part about seeing a community grow. I did put a lot of hard work into it, sweat and tears, literal tears, just because sometimes I get a little bit frustrated that I'm not able to go film plants always. Sometimes my life gets in the way, and if you've seen me or hear me talk a lot about, you know, just personal things during this plant video, it's because I utilize a lot of my plant shopping videos to talk to you guys. It's more like a personal blog as well as a plant shopping video. It's a dialogue. I almost look at my plant content as being a little bit more different in a sense that it's almost like a podcast. So I have been given, feedback that some people literally will turn on my videos and not necessarily watching everything, but just listening to me talk. So I have made it a little bit of a conscious effort to kind of keep talking. Hopefully that is your niche. That's what you like, because I am trying to just get you guys a little bit more conversation when it comes to that. But as you can see here, plant foldies, we are still in the rare area, and this is a beautiful Alocasia variegated Frydek. These are, I think, $150, and you know, that is one of those hot item Alocasias, variegated Alocasias. Like this one has so much variegation, gorgeous plant. Now, I do have to ask, for anybody that grows Alocasia in semi-hydroponics, which is using pon or leca, whenever you actually convert them from soil to leca, is there a transition period where the Alocasia's health slightly declines, like some of the leaves start to droop, some of the leaves die off? I asked this because one of my alocasias, my Alocasia Jacqueline, which I think is already a pretty tough alocasia to grow, literally has all its leaves pretty much dying, and I don't know if it's just trying to acclimate. So leave it in the comments. I am hopeful to grow a lot of my plants in leca and pon. You know, the lechuza pon is really interesting. Hopefully it works out for me. I will definitely give you guys updates, and really I'm waiting for some of my plants to really perk up before I do a houseplant tour. We've talked about perfection is really impossible, but I still want to present a pretty cool plant collection for everybody. I want to film it during the morning though, just because I feel like my morning light is, you know, natural light is really the most optimal version. My plant room has really gotten together. I have a couch there, and actually I do a lot of my voiceover sitting and just enjoying my little plant sanctuary. So stay tuned for that. Leave it in the comments if you really do want to see a houseplant video. I will get more inspired just the more comments I have. I just really want to see if there is a demand for that. But as you can see here, plant foldies, there is a demand for a lot of these rare and uncommon plants. Like you can see here, anthurium. So anthuriums, that is another plant that I just recently got into, and it's because I've been able to jump the fear, or more so the hurdle of feeling like an anthurium is a challenging plant. You know, you read online, you see people having to have full-on like cabinets and humidifiers to grow them, but I actually ended up getting my anthuriums overseas from Green Spaces ID. And Green Spaces ID, if you ever want to import some plants that maybe are a little bit more challenging to get in the United States, or even in Canada, they ship pretty much worldwide. Check them out because they ended up getting me some anthuriums, and ever since I put my anthurium in leca and pon, they have been doing so well. I haven't gotten any spider mites. They've actually pushed down a new leaf. They have beautiful textures, and I am an anthurium fan. I will try to purchase some more anthuriums from another local nursery out in New Braunfels, Texas, called Wild Roots Nursery. They have some really cool anthurium hybrids. But as you can see right here, plant foldies, Green Acres has a bunch of rare plants like this philodendron variegated burley marks, for instance. This is one of those plants that were super expensive. I would caution in the fact that this plant could easily revert. Its variegation is definitely not stable. My suggestion is, if you are going to grow plants that don't have variegated stability or variegation stability, make sure that you are chopping off any signs of green growth, like just multiple green growth, and taking it back to the last variegated leaf. You may be able to push that variegation back out. That's not always the case. Philodendron orange marmalade, that is another beautiful philodendron that I like. It can get massive sizes, and the thing about it is, any neon colored plant, any plant that has a lot of neon colors, neon green, yellow, you have to provide it with quite a bit of light in order for it to really maintain its yellow or neon variegation. And that's really the only drawback as far as neon colored plants. Otherwise, I absolutely love them. I need them in my life. We need them for everybody to actually enjoy, because it's just such a cool looking color. And then you can see right here, this is a philodendron bernardopazii. I think that's how you pronounce it. It is a plant that is uncommon. I think this is like $58, and this is an uncommon philodendron. It does have those narrow leaves, but as it matured, those narrow leaves even become more narrow and massive. And even though it is a green philodendron, notice that the price tag is still a little bit higher than most philodendron, and that's because it is an uncommon philodendron. Now, this is a Monstera constellation. This one has some really good variegation. So here's the thing about Monstera constellations. That one is $115. You can find them at a lot of big box stores. So if you're going to look for a Monstera constellation, I know Costa Farms has brought out some Monstera constellation. Wild Interiors has also done it as well. I happen to find Monstera constellations at Walmart for the first time a little while back, and you know, it really just depends. Now for me, Monstera constellations are really judged on maybe the variegation and the price point, because you can find Monstera Thai constellations for as low as $22, or you can still find them for the prices that they used to sell for more than $100. So it just depends. But if you do want a Monstera Thai constellation that has good fenestrations already, Green Acres Nursery and Supply definitely has it. Same thing with the Philodendron Hederaceum Cream Splash. So Philodendron Hederaceums, they have so many different variations or mutations of that. The most common one would be the Philodendron Hederaceum Brazil. They have a Philodendron Hederaceum Rio. They have a Philodendron Hederaceum Cream Splash. That's pretty cool, and I actually want to get one of those. I just like collecting those fast growing plants. Now if you compare that fast growing, you can also talk about a Syngonium Panda Galaxy. And I remember plant folies, I bought a 2-leaf rooted plant of a Syngonium Panda Galaxy, and I ended up paying more than $150 for it on eBay. And 4 years later, you can buy it for a little bit less expensive. And that's the thing about Syngoniums. I remember seeing a bunch of rare Syngoniums from a plant seller called Kosh out in PlantCon 2024. Fabulous seller. I loved all her collection. She had so many new varieties of Syngoniums, but I really had to practice a little bit more restraint in purchasing those plants, because I just feel like Syngoniums are very easy to propagate, so you just have to wait on it. An example would be, I bought a Syngonium Orm Thong from Ivy Plant. I love Veronica of Ivy Plant, for $30, and it was already a really large Syngonium Orm Thong. I know that a smaller one about a year and a half ago was costing $100, and I was able to get one that was for $30. So again, plant foldies, it is all about that patience, how long you're willing to wait for a plant price to go down. Even see with these Philodendron Florida Beauties, I will say a lot of the plants, these uncommon rare plants, are more readily available because they're basically tissue cultured plants. So they're not necessarily propagating from cuttings from an actual plant. It's actually tissue cultured. And I'm just curious what your thoughts are on tissue cultured plants. I feel like if they, feed the demand that the consumer, our plant lovers, need, then I think I'm all for it. The only thing is, I have heard that tissue culture plants are not nearly as resilient or healthy as their counterparts where they're non-tissue cultured. Now, that is not fact, so please fact check me if that is not necessarily the case. I've just read that a lot online, and that's the thing too, plant foldies, is certain information you get online, especially about plants, may not always be the case. And honestly, sometimes there are exceptions to the rule. So whenever I give up plant care tips or even my suggestions, please make sure to lean into a little bit of your experience. Use it as a guide, but don't use it as a rule of thumb, if that makes any sense. But as you can see here, plant foldies, we do have even more Hoyas. These are $35. And unfortunately for Hoyas, I am just not as versed in actually knowing all of the Hoya varieties. Hoyas have captured my heart. I do like Hoyas because they are easy to take care of, and they're easy to propagate as well from cuttings. I do have some Hoya Lisas that I am going to put in pond just to see what that looks like in a semi-hydroponic situation. So we'll figure out what that looks like, and I will definitely keep you posted. But this one has some beautiful variegation, and I like the leaf shape of it. That looks like a Hoya carnosa, but it's definitely not. It's similar to it, and you can see that they have more rare and uncommon Hoyas right over here. For those that are Hoya heads, or that's what they're called, people who are really into Hoyas, let me know what your favorite Hoyas are in the comments. I want to see my Hoyas eventually bloom. They have not yet, but I haven't sent any Hoyas to Plant Heaven, which I'm super excited about because I do have quite a bit of Hoyas available now in my personal plant collection. And you can see here again, Epipremnum pinnata marble. Like, this is just an amazing looking plant, and for only $200, knowing that this is already on a totem pole growing with several plants, Awesome, beautiful, rare and uncommon plant. Philodendron Jose Buono. Now that one is another philodendron I have yet to see in a big box store, but it has become readily available at a lot of local plant nurseries. So that is always a plus. Look at those roots too. Look, those aerial roots. You can literally chop this up and make multiple Jose Buonos. I was able to get a starter one for I think $12.50 from the Hive's plants. So, you know, that's the thing. Sometimes I will buy a starter plant and grow it up, because I know that, for instance, Jose Buono, it's not a slow growing philodendron. So I could get it to size up pretty quickly, and I don't mind waiting for that. There's just certain plants, like for instance, Aglaonema, super slow growing plant. Sometimes I just want a nice large Aglaonema because I just want one. And it actually takes a little bit longer for them to get to that size. So, you know, as far as the rare greenhouse area for Green Acres Nursery and Supply, they have quite a bit of plants. You do have to ask somebody to let you in to take a look at that. But you can see here again, this Epipremnum pinnatum marble, gorgeous plant. And then we're gonna go look at the anthuriums here. I didn't want to bug Tanya to open this up, so I'm just gonna pan over and show you some of these anthuriums. Now, anthuriums are all the rage. I just never paid attention to them, but I could totally understand how they could be all the rage, because their leaves are very much so beautiful in a sense that they have a unique like shape about them, the veining of the leaves, and just the textures, whether it's kind of like satin finish or velvety texture. I haven't had any issues with my anthuriums. I would say as a rule of thumb, or just something to guide you, you do want to try to get it more humidity if possible. So my plant room does have a humidifier. It stays within the 55 to 60 range for humidities. Ideally, I want to keep it around the 60-65, but I also don't want to mess up my wooden floors, and I don't want to encourage mildew. That is the plight of growing plants indoors. You also can't just humidify your home to the point where it's a tropical jungle. Otherwise, you start running into, you know, floors warping and mildew. But as far as humidity, higher humidity will help a lot of your plants, especially anthuriums. You can see right here too, Philodendron Black Majesty in a hanging basket, beautiful plant. I actually got one from Pothos Planters, which is another local plant shop that I recommend people to shop at. Small plant shop, but they pack a huge impact when it comes to the selection of plants. I would even say they could go head to head with even a big box store, or even a big you know, nursery like this, where they have a little bit more surface space. But let's just talk about how gorgeous that leaf is for a Philodendron Black Majesty. Dark foliage plants are awesome, and that's the reason why, if you do have like a Philodendron Pink Princess that is more of like a burgundy tone but doesn't necessarily have the pink, I still think grow it, because it is a beautiful plant regardless. You know, there is always this huge trend to want to just always run to a variegated plant, but sometimes the non-variegated plants have a certain simplicity, certain elegance about them, where there's not a lot of things going on, but you can really like enjoy the structure of the plant, the leaf shape, or just the growth. You know, sometimes the vigorous growth of a plant is really what attracts me. It's not always necessarily the plant itself. For example, pothos plants. I love Epipremnum aureum. Everybody says it is a basic plant. It is a common plant, cheap plant, whatever you want to call it. But Epipremnum aureum, it's easy to take care of unless you really don't water it. And then it's also easy to propagate. Now over here, we do have a bunch of Phalaenopsis orchids, and I have one Phalaenopsis orchid in my collection, and you'll see it in this video. It is a variegated Phalaenopsis orchid. Notice how it does have a lot of its roots popping out. With orchids, never ever plant it in potting soil. You always need to put it in orchid bark, because these roots will rot out very easily. You'll know that you have to water your roots when the roots are more of like a silvery white tone versus it being green, because when you water a Phalaenopsis orchid, as soon as you water it, the roots will turn like a light green tone. That means it is hydrated. I would say, on a caution, I wouldn't overwater a Phalaenopsis orchid, or just an orchid in general, but this is the variegated orchid. This is one of the times where variegation on a plant is actually sought after, at least for me, because when the blooms are gone, there's still a leaf interest about it, to where I can still enjoy it. It almost reminds me of, like, I don't know, it sounds crazy crazy, but like a sansevieria plant or a snake plant because of the variegation. Orchids do like bright indirect light. They can tolerate lower light conditions, but if you really want to get the blooms to come out, obviously you want to give it a lot more light. When it is not in bloom is the best time to repot the plant, just because you don't want to shock the plant while it's in bloom. Otherwise it may actually drop its blooms. Now, as far as Phalaenopsis orchids, blooms typically last for about a month, maybe longer, and they do like more acidic soil, to be honest. I would say water or fertilize them, which is an all-purpose orchid fertilizer. As far as orchids or Phalaenopsis orchids, they are considered epiphytes, so they really attach themselves on trees. In the Philippines, they grow rampant, they grow wild, they're just all over. And it's just interesting that over in the western part of the world, which I would assume most of my viewers and subscribers are from, we put so much effort into trying to assimilate these plants into our natural habitats, where you want to like get grow lights, you want to get moss poles, you want to like get chunky aroid mix, versus like a Southeast Asian country where literally these plants are growing on the side of the road in full sun, hot humidity, and bam, they're just growing. But you know, that's the interesting part about plants. So whenever you talk about plants being house plants, there is no such thing as a house plant foldies. They are plants that we have sourced at some point from another part of the world. And plant care, I say this in all of my videos, and I will continue to say this, plant care is really how close can you emulate the environment of the actual plant from its natural habitat. So when you talk about, you know, water when the soil is completely dry, that's probably because the environment or the rain pattern kind of sets that tone for the plant. Higher humidity means maybe that plant came from a higher humidity environment. Bright indirect light, maybe that plant was actually a understory type plant where it was growing under trees where it got filtered light. So that's just an interesting part about plant care. And then this Taka Chantrieri, I think that's what you call it, actually has blooms that are dark black that almost look like bats. So that's why they call this the bat plant. I've never heard of it until I actually Googled it, and I thought it was really cool to see the blooms of that plant. So there's always a discovery when I go to a local plant nursery or whenever I just go plant shopping. Plant foldies, let me know in the comments if you've ever just gone into a nursery and if you've never seen a certain plant, what plants they are. And if you made it this far into the video, first of all, thank you. Please make sure you are hitting that like button. I know that I ask you guys often, but when I say it does really help with the engagement, if you really like this content, definitely support me that way. I would love you forever for that. And then you can see right over here, gorgeous looking Dracaena warneckii. This one is a larger form. So you can see that those Dracaenas that you see at a big box store that are being sold as like exotic angel Costa Farms plants, when it matures, it can get to this size right here. Notice that the actual trunk becomes a little bit more caney. That is one of the natural habits of why that particular Dracaena grows that way. And then you can see we've got a bunch of hanging baskets of different types of ferns. My grandmother says that ferns are easy to take care of. I don't necessarily agree with her because they do require a little bit more humidity, but for some reason she's able to propagate them. She says she divides them when she propagates them. And for those that haven't seen my grandmother's video, she's actually the source of my inspiration, the reason why I'm into plants. Definitely check that out. It is a big box store plant shopping video at Home Depot, and it also has a picture of her in the thumbnail. So I hope you guys might be able to check it out. I do an interview for her. And then over here, Green Acres has a bunch of large plants. Like look at this Dracaena right here. And again with Dracaenas, very underrated plant. It's a plant that a lot of people don't really look to collect. I think it's more of those like plants that people use for offices or more of a corporate setting, but I think that Dracaenas are just as beautiful as some of the more rare or uncommon philodendrons or aroids that we like to add into our plant collections. But as you can see, plant foldies, what a gorgeous looking place as far as just where we are in terms of the Green Acres plant shop. Here you can see that there are a ton of Phalaenopsis orchids, and I'm just going to pan over here and just show you all of the gorgeous flowering plants that they have here. take a look at these gorgeous jewel orchids for $27.50. I love the look of jewel orchids. You can see that they have that nice faint veining that it has over here. Obviously, being a dark foliage plant, that is another reason why I want to get one of these plants to add into my collection. I currently have one that I ended up buying at Peter's Planters, but as you can see right over here, Green Acres Nursery and Supply have just a variety of plants that you can choose from, jewel orchids. I know that the Melissa, Texas location further up north has them in smaller sizes, so if you don't want the 4-inch ones, you can get the ones in smaller sizes. But I do love jewel orchids. They do require a little bit more humidity, so I would always suggest, if possible, that you add near, like a humidifier or someplace where they can get some humidity. They definitely enjoy that. And then you can see right here, plant foldies, more ficus lyrata, and then tons of blooming anthuriums. So when you think of anthuriums, this is probably one that you will find as the most common one. People will grow them for their blooms. I do love the actual leaf shape. This one has more of a waxy look as compared to all the other anthuriums that I have recently started to get into. Again, growing anthuriums in semi-hydroponics actually works well for me. Now, these plants right here are pretty easy to grow. Like, you can grow them for $13.50, so they've got an assorted arrangement of different types of bloom colors. I currently have one growing in straight hydroponics, so it's literally sitting in water with some plant nutrients. And if you're gonna ask me the plant nutrients I use, I am so thankful that Tanya at Green Acres Nursery and Supply was able to give me her tips on the plant nutrients she uses. So I use the Fox Farm liquid nutrients. There's one that is called Grow Big liquid plant food that I add into my water, and then I also add the Tiger Bloom Buds and Blooms fertilizer. Those are the two, and what I do with it is I take a gallon, and rather than putting a full tablespoon of each one per gallon, I just do a half tablespoon. So I just feed a lower strength, just because in hydroponics you just want to be a little bit careful about how much fertilizer or plant nutrient you put into your actual water. But it has worked really well for me. And then over here, Mandula Pothos for $20. So Epipremnum aureum Mandula Pothos. I am definitely going to be looking for these from Costa Farms, just because I remember there were some for like $7.50. I want to go ahead and add like a legitimate Mandula Pothos into my plant collection. I do have one growing at work, but as far as like my personal plant collection, you can never have enough Mandula Pothos. I feel like their variegation is very much sporadic in a sense. I do love that it has more of a rounder shaped leaf, and who knows, you might actually find some really interesting mutations. Talking to May from D&M Secret Garden out at PlantCon 2024, she was the plant vendor that was featuring Japanese pothos. Just knowing that pothos actually come from a lot of these mutations, so they'll take like a certain vine that may have a certain characteristic, whether it's like a narrower form of the leaf, a different type of variegation, and propagate it and see if that actual variegation continues. So I definitely want to try that with some of my Epipremnum aureum or pothos plants. Now, Mandula Pothos is another plant that can get very large round shaped leaves. So if you actually grow them in a moss pole or a totem pole, that would be the very best situation in terms of that. Just getting them to grow into their natural habit in nature. Definitely love pothos plants. Let me know in the comments, plant foldies, if you enjoy pothos, if you grow pothos, how many varieties of pothos do you have? I am really trying to collect as many, and now with my plant room that I have set up, I'm actually doing the voiceover in my plant room. I see my humidifiers. I'm actually going down to my plants. It's just a really serene environment. It's currently 72 degrees in humidity, and my plants are loving it. But I'm also loving the fact that I can feature all of these local plant videos, these local plant nursery videos. I know that I did a lot of PlantCon videos, but I will be back at it. I will spend my day off Tuesday going all over the DFW market and trying to find some more big box stores. So I'll probably be going to like Lowe's, Home Depot, and then I will also visit Green Acres again in Melissa. I was just told that they got some more plant restock. So you already know, I just want to make sure that everybody who watches my channel can get some daily plant content. You can see right here, philodendron pink princess. And as you can see, this one has some pink variegation. So there is really a wide range of variegation when it comes to pink princess. I just remember years back, 4 years ago, this was a very expensive plant, even for one that wasn't as highly variegated. Geonanthus plant. Beautiful plant. I don't know a lot about it, but what I do know is the dark foliage is super exciting, and I just love that it has like a faint purple tone about it. Dark foliage plants, when you actually put it in an arrangement, if you put it right next to a plant that's like a neon colored plant or even a pink plant, it really pops it up. I currently have a lot of dark foliage plants. I just think that they have a certain elegance about them. But the geo plant, I've been told that it's actually a more finicky plant, but I don't know exactly what the care tips are for it. So for those that have grown a geo plant or a geonanthus plant, please leave in the comments what your thoughts are. Now, obviously with philodendron pink princess or philodendron urubescens pink princess, all of those plants that are philodendron urubescens will need a pole, a moss pole, a totem pole to really get the leaves to size up. That's what I would suggest. Now, some people will try to grow them as like a trailing plant. It's just not gonna give you the best leaves, the best variegation. So I would just suggest making sure that you are giving it a pole or something to attach on. More bright indirect light is best for it, not only for its coloration, even though I believe that its coloration is really influenced by the amount of genetics, pink variegation it has already. Same thing with the philodendron white princess. And philodendron white princess, what I do like is sometimes you will get those faint pink variegation on it. I have one that is growing up a pole. It is really getting some nice sized leaves. I'm almost tempted to chop it up and prop, but I don't know if you've ever been in a situation, plant foldies, where you've gotten a really nice growth on a plant, and then all of a sudden you're tempted to chop it up. I know, like with my Monstera albo, for instance, that I got from Fitzgerald Tropicals, I can get a good 4 cuttings out of it, but then I would have to start over. So I'm actually just trying to get it to a nice mature size. So plant foldies, I do want your insights on that, on whether you grow a plant for its mature full size, or do you just keep chopping and propping and multiplying? I really want to know. And then plant foldies, as far as the bromeliads. So bromeliads, again, are plants that you can find at a big box store like Lowe's, Home Depot, Walmart. But even though it's a common plant you find, the more I look into the different varieties of bromeliads, the more I am a fan of them. Now, here's the thing about bromeliads. This one is for $27.50. I love the pink varieties. Bromeliads, these types of bromeliads need to be lower into your plant display, meaning if you're going to put them on a shelf, you want to at least make it to where it is below eye level, so you can look down and look at the foliage, because obviously that's where you want to see. It's not a tall plant, but like this one right here, fabulous plant. I do need to add more bromeliads to my plant collection, especially this one right here. Look at that striping, look at that pink. The pink looks like somebody has literally spray painted some pink spray paint or red spray paint. And that's the thing about these bromeliads. The more you dig into the different varieties, the more impressed you will be with those plants. And what I like about Green Acres Nursery and Plant Supply is the fact that they have all these different tables. So now we're going to be looking at the philodendron table. I don't want to mislabel these plants. This one is for $27.50. So I'm just going to say philodendron. I don't know if this is a philodendron plomanii or a philodendron soderoi. So for those that are experts on philodendron identification, leave it in the comments. Let me know if this is a particular philodendron and what it is, because it does have some gorgeous silver tones about it. And then over here, we have more of a velvety one for $27.50. So it is labeled as a assorted. I don't know if it's a philodendron splendid or if it's a philodendron verrucosum. I think it's a splendid, not 100% sure. So again, plant foldies, you'll just have to let me know in the comments if you know specifically the plant ID. Now with these more velvety textured philodendron, you do want to give it a little bit more humidity. And the reason why you want to do that is because they tend to be a little bit more prone to spider mites. Most velvety textured plants, I've realized, actually are more prone to spider mites. And the thing to do to actually repel spider mites, before I start talking about spider mite prevention, take a look at this philodendron. I don't know if this is a variegated one. Let me know. What do you guys think? Is this variegated or is it just what it's supposed to look like? It looks almost like variegated to me, maybe a sport variegation. But to go back to spider mite prevention, obviously spraying your plants with like a preventative neem oil spray helps, but increasing the humidity in your plant space will repel spider mites because they do not like humidity. They like a really dry environment. So if you have a dry environment, your plant is more susceptible to spider mites. Now the thing is, if you have higher humidity, the one thing that will also attract pests are called fungus gnats. So fungus gnats like moisture on the tops of the soil. So there's really a balance on what you want to do. For me, in order to prevent pest, and you will always get pests no matter how much pest preventative you do, always inspect the plants that you buy at a store, whether it is a big box or especially a big box store. But even at a local plant nursery, you want to make sure that you're checking the undersides of the leaves, the tops of the leaves, in between the nodes, the soil surface, the bottom of the drainage hole. If you see any webbing, that means it's a spider mite and you probably don't want to pick up that plant. Or if you feel like see little fuzzy balls, that is probably mealybugs. It's worth noting that if you take a plant and say I bought a plant from Green Acres today, for instance, I would spray it with my neem oil spray. So basically the recipe for me is a conventional spray bottle, 2 tablespoons of cold pressed neem oil, which you can buy on Amazon, 2 tablespoons of rubbing alcohol, 70% strength or even 91% strength, 2 tablespoons of hydrogen peroxide, fill it up with water, drop a drop of dishwashing soap, and then shake it up, spray it on your plants. And not only will it make your plants shiny and vibrant, but it will also kill all of these plants instantly, and you're not having to use really strong pesticides. So that's my routine around, plant preventative pest control, as well as just what I do when I bring plants home. Some people will quarantine their plants. I haven't been the best at quarantining my plants just because I do a thorough spray. And whenever I water my plants, I always spray them down with neem oil. So they're literally sprayed down with neem oil at least once a week. And this year, since I started collecting plants again, I haven't had any major plant pests. I might see like a fungus gnat or 2 flying around, but I also use this plugin called Zevo, which you can buy at a big box store like Target or Walmart. And basically you plug it in, it does have a blue light, but it will literally attract all of the fungus gnats, and you can pretty much get rid of them within like 72 hours, as long as that area is in a dark room and the only thing they see is that blue light. They will all just gather to it. But going back to the plants, and I do apologize if I have been rambling a lot today. I'm just really excited to just kind of share my thoughts. On Tuesdays is when I have my days off, and I get a lot of time to think. I get a lot of time to work on this channel. And so I've been spending a lot of time just kind of giving you my own plant musings. But you can see here Philodendron brantianum on a trellis. Love that. Philodendron brantianum has that silver foliage. They do like a little bit more humidity. So again, higher humidity within the 60% range would really benefit for them. And then Epipremnum aureum neon queen pothos, beautiful plant. Again, that one is going to need a lot of light in order for it to really maintain that variegation. I did show earlier in the video all of the different varieties of pothos plants or Epipremnum aureum that Green Acres has. And that's the thing about Green Acres. you can pick a family genus of plants and you can be able to collect all of them. And that is a double-edged sword, because you can go to this table and there's a bunch of philodendron, there's a bunch of pothos plants. Like this one here is an epipremnum pinnatum skeleton keys, and while it looks like just a regular pinnatum, when it grows up a totem pole, the leaves get larger and they almost look like an alocasia stingray. It's super cool. And then you can see here they have totem plants. So these are plants that really need to be growing up a pole. Like this one right here is a Scindapsus exotica totem for $27.50. So if you want more of a vertical type of plant to display to get some more height somewhere, you want to grow plants upward toward a totem pole or moss pole. Love the silvery foliage on Scindapsus exotica. And the thing about Scindapsus plants is they are very similar to pothos plants. The thing about it is they are a little bit slower growing as compared to an epipremnum aureum or a pothos plant. They do let you know when they're thirsty, because their leaves start to curl. And then I love Monstera celtipicana. Now this one right here will get larger leaves as it goes up a totem. Most Monstera will need that. I don't know if it'll actually fenestrate really large, like an epipremnum pinnatum or something like that, but I have been growing mine in a Costa Farms Exotic Angels hanging basket. I found it at Lowe's for $19.84, and it does well as a hanging plant as well. The leaves don't necessarily get smaller. It's actually got a pretty vigorous growth and it's easy to propagate. Same thing with philodendron micans. And here's the thing. This is a question for Costa Farms. I'm just curious why Costa Farms has never really released philodendron micans in hanging baskets, because that is a gorgeous looking dark foliage velvety plant that is easy to take care of, easy plant care, and it's really cost effective these days. Now, I don't know about you, but I love the philodendron micans. It's one that I think you can never have enough of. There are certain plants that are in my plant collection that I have multiples of, and philodendron micans would be one of them. I'm also guilty to talk about having multiple Monstera Thai constellations. Now that they've been more readily available, I just start collecting them. Now over here is a philodendron Birkins. This one is a beautiful plant as well, and you can see that they have a variety of different types of philodendron. Notice that this is a philodendron painted lady, and I've seen a lot of philodendron painted ladies available. Here's the thing I notice about philodendron painted lady. They are light seekers. They need a lot of bright indirect light. The moment they start to not get light, the moment that they are not getting enough light, they are definitely going to start becoming more greenish in tone versus yellow. So it's actually good to what you call sun stress them, and I don't mean by putting them in direct full sun. What I mean is putting them under a grow light and literally getting more light than they necessarily need, because it will give you that yellow tone. Sometimes it'll even give you that bleached look, but as long as you're not doing too much, you're gonna get that yellow coloration that painted lady has. I love that plant. I have currently 2 of them, and one is growing under a grow light. That's the only way I can really maintain that yellow variegation. Philodendron tortum, $20, beautiful plant. That is another plant that, while it does have more, like, I don't know, its leaf structure is very dainty. It is a very hardy philodendron. And then over here we have a philodendron Paraíso Verde. Now Paraíso Verde, the variegation is not always necessarily influenced by the amount of light it gets. It actually needs more heat. So in colder climates or colder conditions, it's not going to push out that bright variegation. So if you're able to increase the heat, it is going to love it. I love that as well. And you can see over here, plant foldies, we've got philodendron Ring of Fire. I would call that the common variegated philodendron now, alongside with the philodendron Pink Princess. I think those two have really crossed the realm of just a common house plant now that they are so readily available at big box stores, and a local plant nursery like this really like the look of that. And you can just see there is just so many different varieties of plants. It is one that I definitely enjoy, and all of these philodendrons, like right over there, they got a philodendron Jungle Boogie straight ahead, that's serrated philodendron. They've got hanging baskets, and They also have a peace lily, a spathiphyllum peace lily. Now, a spathiphyllum, I have been told, are easy to actually just grow in straight water. Honestly, I would probably grow a peace lily in straight water just because it is a very thirsty plant. So the 3 plants I bought from Steve's Leaves out in PlantCon 2024 in Dallas, the Irving rose, the stainless steel plant, and what was the other plant, and then the Tradescanthia, they're all very thirsty plants, so I literally have to water them every other day, and that's a problem, plant foldies. I know that I'm in underwater. I have been doing very well though about just being able to water my plants, just because I discovered the secret of just using a handheld shower head. So what I'll do is actually take all of my plants I need to water, put them in my my rainforest shower, and I just take the head and just spray them down. It's just like watering plants outside with a hose, but I'm able to do multiple plants at once. I do suggest watering plants, like actually spraying them down with the shower head, or even taking them outside under like a patio and using a garden hose to spray them down. That way you can actually clean your leaves off. The thing about it is plants will accumulate dust, and when there's just a lot of dust on the plant, it doesn't actually get the light it needs to photosynthesize and feed it. So that's one way I've been able to keep my leaves clean. And then when you start to put spray it with neem oil, it gives it a natural shine that I love. So it's got a glossy finish about it. Here's an Epipremnum aureum that has some really high variegation. This is considered the golden pothos, but you know that this has more interesting speckling. Like honestly, now that I've talked to May at D&M Secret Garden, definitely follow her on Instagram about the Japanese pothos. That's really how the Teruno Japanese pothos series started, is they will find interesting variegations. Like this one right here has more of a speckling variegation for a golden pothos. I would literally chop that up and actually propagate it, put it in a pretty good lighting situation, and see if it'll continue to push out that type of variegation. I do find that interesting. That is another plant that I want to play with. I want to start just propagating more easy to propagate plants like pothos plants and Syndapsis. Now, I honestly don't have a legitimate Syndapsis exotica. This one is for $22.50, and look at how beautiful that metallic shine is on that. I definitely need that. I probably will invest in buying one that's growing up a totem, because again, plant foldies, when you grow a plant up a totem, it tends to just get better, just better coloration, better leaves in terms of the size, and that's just really how they want to grow. And I've mentioned that multiple times in this video, but that's the thing I would also leave everybody with, is the fact that if you want to grow a plant, give the plant its natural habitat, or as close to its natural habitat. Let it grow the way it wants to grow. So like for instance, that Epipremnum pinnatum right there, or what they call the dragon's tail, you want to grow it up a pole, a plank, something for its leaves to attach. Same thing with an Epipremnum aureum enjoy pothos. That one is another pothos I love, because it does have that high variegation in terms of the contrast between green and then the white. And the thing about it is, even if you don't provide the enjoy pothos nearly as much light, it will still maintain a lot of its variegation as compared to maybe a marble queen pothos, or even the neon pothos right here. Like I love neon pothos. That is another plant that I don't mind having multiples of, because it is just a gorgeous plant. The more light you provide it, the more intense yellow and neon green that plant is going to be. Less light, it's going to be a little bit of a lighter green. It's not going to be that neon color. So again, lighting can also factor into your plants. And for those that are beginners and have actually just found my YouTube channel, you'll hear me talk a lot about lighting conditions, care conditions, and hopefully I'm providing some content that is going to be a little bit more value added for your plants. But as far as shopping at Green Acres, that is a good place to go if you're a local plant foldie or somebody that lives out in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Now, if you are just visiting Dallas for a weekend or going on vacation and you want to go to a nursery that has pretty much everything, I would go here. And if you're going to fly away to another state, you can actually take plants onto your hand carry. Now double check, but I know that I was trying to go to Miami to go to the International Aeroid Show. Unfortunately, plant foldies, I'm just not going to be able to make it with work. I have to work this weekend, and it's just really tough to get that time off. I will 150% be at the Texas Aeroid Show, October 26th in Houston, Texas. So I will have hours and hours of videos just like PlantCon, and there is a plant swap happening at North Haven Gardens, I think at the end of this month, which I will also document and maybe get some more of the plant vendors on there. But going back to this is another philodendron. That one is the jungle boogie, and it looks like it's about to be in bloom. And then over here we have a Syndapsis trubii moonlight. This is another common like trending tropicals plant by Costa Farms that you can find at any big box store. And it's always interesting to compare and talk about the plants that you could see at a big box store. Costa Farms has done a really good job making those accessible, but local plant nurseries will definitely have them. And then you can see right over here, plant foldies, more pothos plants, another philodendron bilitiae. We got a Epipremnum pinnatum cebu blue pothos in a hanging basket, and just more hanging baskets right over here. Those are within the $27.50 range. So again, it's very cost effective to shop at Green Acres, especially if you're looking for a plant that you don't typically see in hanging baskets. For instance, that like philodendron, that dark foliage philodendron. Then you can see over here, we've got even more philodendron. We've got some tomathophyllum at the bottom, or what you call psalum. And then if I pan around over here, you can see that they've got some dracaenas, diphymbacchias, and aglaonemas all on that table. You can see that they have the Fox Farm fertilizers that I mentioned. The one with the red tomato on it is what I use as my hydroponic nutrient solution, and it has done very well for me. And then you can see over here, there is another table just full of Monstera deliciosas and different types of Monsteras. So love the fact that Green Acres Nursery and Supply really does keep their plants organized by like the family and genus, and even their plant products. Everything is just neat and organized, which makes it easier for you to shop. In retail, I've been told that if something is organized and shoppable, you're more inclined to purchase more, or you're going to be more inspired to purchase more. So I don't know if that's really a good thing for us consumers, but you know, it is what it is. And you can see right over here, Tanya is about to go ahead and get more plants to restock. So these are starter plants, and you can see that's a bunch of polka dot plants. We've got some Crusala, and then we've got some Tradescantia Nanook. My favorite Tradescantia, just because look at that pink and purple foliage. Love that. And obviously that jade plant looks amazing as well. But plant foldies, let me know in the comment section what you think of all the plants so far. Would you actually visit Green Acres? And if you have been able to go to Green Acres, which location do you actually go to? I'm hoping that you guys shop at both. Like this one right here, $9.75. Beautiful plant. I have this, easy to propagate. It's easy to multiply, fun to share. And that's the thing, again, plant foldies. If you're trying to save money on plants, or just get your finances right for a plant collection, ways to do so would be to purchase smaller plants like this. That was another type of Iracine, I think, plant, but look at that right here. This one is not the red version, and these starter plants are usually $3.50. You can actually grow these to larger sizes fairly quickly. So if you go to a local nursery, you can find starter plants. You can see right over here, this is a variegated Swedish ivy, and I love this because it is a fast grower. It's an easy plant to grow. You can grow these outdoors or indoors. This isn't a plant that you would actually run to and think that it would be an indoor house plant, but you can grow it as an indoor plant, as well as this Polea. So this is $4.50. And the thing is, even though it's a small baby Polea, this will grow pretty fast, and then you can just keep propagating multiple babies. It likes to shoot little pups, or that's what you call little pups, and you can separate them from the mother plant. But as you can see here, they've got even more starter plants. I love it. Love, love, love Green Acres Nursery and Supply. So that's another way to start your plant collection, is just starting with little small starter plants. Like this one right here is another type of Aurelia. This is a gold crest Aurelia starter plant. I just got one for $4 though. at Home Depot, but if you're looking to save money, that is another way to do so, is just getting the 2-inch starter plants. Now they do have more of the rare or niche philodendron, so these are going to cost a little bit more, but you can see here this is a Dracaena sandriana, and I am a little bit hesitant on the Dracaena sandriana just because for a Dracaena it's actually quite thirsty. It's a plant that you have to give it a little bit more water, and I'm really trying to minimize the amount of plants that are thirsty because I don't want to kill them. And then this one right here is a philodendron. I think this is a small narrow escape philodendron. This one is for $20, so it's a little bit pricey, but you know, sometimes if you just want a small plant, because say you have a small space, maybe you have an apartment, maybe you don't have a full-blown like plant room you can dedicate plants, sometimes the smaller sizes will work for you. It's a little bit more manageable. Like this one right here, gorgeous yellow philodendron. And you know, for Green Acres, I heard that they were actually going to, and this isn't like fully confirmed yet, that they're also going to keep opening up more locations throughout the Dallas-Fort Worth area. I would love that because then it'll give me more time to, more places to actually film plant content for y'all. And again, Plant Foldies, when it comes to all of the different types of plant shops, local plant nurseries, what makes me have so much fun creating this daily content of plants for you is the fact that I can meet more people. So Plant Foldies, I hope you've enjoyed this content today for Green Acres out in Irving, Texas. This is part 1 of 2, so I will have another part to this later. As always, please make sure you're hitting the like button for this video. It definitely helps a lot. Check out this beautiful desert rose, variegated desert rose. And as always, please subscribe to my YouTube channel at Growfold. This is Richie. I'll see you soon.